Yeah, the devotion is the key in Tibetan Buddhism. The Vajrayana Buddhism, this devotion, this one word, you will maybe hear a million times, or countless times that your lama, your teacher will repeat the devotion, 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 devotion. And I'm sure you will be like tired of hearing this devotion things. What is this devotion things? Sometimes it's interesting. We think like we get it. I know what is devotion, but sometimes like, is this really devotion? So sometimes it's a like a really kind of something it's tangible. Sometimes it's really like an abstract, like you lost the whole point. What is devotion? Let's begin with the devotion. Is, if you explain simply, it means trust. Trust. So at least in the beginning, you have to have a trust in your teacher, the guidance, or the lama, and you have a trust that I trust you. And that's a foundation in a relationship, and that's a foundation in a spiritual devotion. The devotion means trust. I trust you. I trust you. So that's the beginning of the devotion. Now, once you have a trust, I trust you, Lama, Guru, I trust you. I trust you. So the interesting here, why in the Vajrayana the devotion is so much emphasized. It is not like a Lama is trying to get more attention from you. Oh, students, you need a devotion to me. And 24 hours, don't forget me, please. If you forget me, I will be alone and lonely. I need your full attention. Don't even give attention to your husband, children, and anyone. Just me, 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 me. It looks like a shit. What is this? Why you need so much attention, But here we have to understand the real key here. So devotion, as I told you, devotion means the trust. First, you have to trust him or her. And once the trust is built, it takes time. It takes time, Let's say you build the trust, and I trust you, Lama, I trust you. So what is really happening here? I. Who is I? Ego. I is nothing, the ego. And ego start to saying, I trust you, Lama. Yeah, the word itself, Lama, which is, there's no beyond than you. There's no above you, which means ego said, I trust you, truth. So the ego is saying, I trust you, truth. Means there's already some hope is there now. Ego is seeing the hope. It's almost like a darkness is saying the light. I trust you. Means I see the hope. I can transform into light, So devotion in the beginning, the trust is it connect. It connects with the light and dark. You need some connection, So the connection, it's built by the trust. Now, the devotion, once the trust is built, and now it is coming closer. You are here, Lama is here, and the more you know the Lama, let's begin with the outer Lama. The outer Lama means physical Lama, which is made out of bone and flesh, let's say. And you start to see him or her quality, all the good quality. You are inspired, you are touched by him or her, and you start to kind of liking him or her. You started trusting this guy or this woman. And then what happened? Now this is important. Until you built so much trust that you are starting to trust more than yourself, more than your parents, more than your partner. You started to trust so much on him or her. The outer Lama, it is devotion. It is literally devotion. But now there is a very danger. If you met the wrong Lama, now he or she will going to take a full advantage of this innocent devotion. And we all know that, so I don't want to repeat here. And it just happened many times in history. if the so-called lama, the teacher, is driven or overpowered by the ego or jealousy or desire or aversion and so on and so forth. And that's your bad karma. You end up in this kind of, let's say, teacher, you open up and, they just say, misuse that devotion. So that's why the devotion, it's a very sensitive and it's a very good resource, but at the same time, it's a very danger. Whom you really want to open. Now, let's say how Vajrayana, the devotion, play an important role in what kind of teacher. Let's say you start to build a trust and you start to building a more trust and you really so much trust in that Lama that you trust more than anyone in this world. Include yourself, you trust more. Now, around this time, the outer Lama, the physical Lama, have a so important role in the Vajrayana to tell that devotees that I am not the one you have to devote. So not like a take all the attention toward the outer Lama. If the outer Lama is little wiser, little mature, little spiritually, little bit awakened, let's say, or little bit have a wisdom, the outer Lama's the main important job. There's two responsibility in the Vajrayana. The one, the outer Lama has to like a kind of to let the devotees to know that you have to devote the inner Lama. So that the devotion you have to bring inward instead of taking outward. I getting my point? So the outer Lama has to tell the devotees, I'm so and happy and with your devotion. Now you have to understand in the Buddhism, it's all about the inner journey. It's not outer journey. If you are thinking outer Lama is superior, he or she is the deity, she is the God, then we are not a Buddhism. We are going into something else. Because we are seeking the solution outside. The Buddha always say, you are the source, the inner. You are the source of samsara and nirvana. You are the teacher. You are the Buddha. You are the Lama. So Buddha is so much emphasizing solution is inside, and problem is also inside. Samsara is inside. Nirvana is inside. So the outer teacher responsibility is to let him or her the devotion to be little bit slowly turn inside. To let him or her know that the yidam or the Lama that he or she is like thinking, when he or she is thinking about the Lama, that's the inner Lama. That is like inside his or her mind. So now the outer Lama has to more emphasize that inner Lama. The Lama, the yidam, is nothing but your Lama. It's the one with that yidam, the deity. So the more he or she start to turning that inward, what will happen here? What will happen is that now the he or she start to feeling confident or trusting himself. This is so important here, because when you look around, the biggest problem in the spiritual is, I don't trust myself. I don't trust, I'm a Buddha. No, please, don't say that. I'm not Buddha, I'm not either. I don't trust myself. I'm a shit. People think that way. I am worthless. Now, that the outer teacher have to solve this problem. To really say that you are not worthless. You are not shit. Because that Lama that you are, because inside your mind, the Lama when you are thinking of, when whatever you can able to think, it's you. It's you. Nobody's getting inside your mind. It's you. So you are the inner Lama. So somehow he or she have to connect with the inner Lama, which is we call it Sambhogakaya Lama. And now the devotion, before it was outer Lama, now the devotion has to be kind of balancing the inner Lama. The inner Lama and outer Lama. Now this is something very important. This is the first responsibility of the outer Lama, to introduce the inner Lama. So once he or she is familiar with the inner lama, which is inner lama is not separate than the inner idam, and which is also very important here. And now he or she start to building the trust to inner lama, the inner idam, that's which is devotion. Now, if he or she start building a trust so like a high toward the inner lama, and there will be the time which we call in the Vajrayana the pointing to the nature of mind. The pointing to the nature of mind is nothing but the outer lama is helping the student to see his or her the true nature of mind, which is Dharmakaya. Now the Dharmakaya is, there's no form, no name. Like a name which we are giving, it's just a kind of represent, but it's not a really name of the Dharmakaya, the true nature of mind. So there's no form, no shape, no color, and there is no subject and object. So it's difficult to really explain. So now the interesting part is that the outer lamas, the ultimate job in the Vajrayana is pointing to the nature of mind. That's the climax of the Vajrayana. That's the beginning of the Vajrayana, and that's the climax of the Vajrayana. It's a two in one here. As soon as the lama's job is the outer devotion is building in the devoted, and then he have to transfer the inner lama and the idam, and then in the end, the pointing to the nature of mind. Now see, this is important. The pointing to the nature of mind is, see, this is Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya is not, as I told you, there's a no limited, it's a limitless. Now this is the devotees, Sambhogakaya form, and this is the outer lama. Now, how the lama is pointing to the nature of mind is that as soon as, because the inner lama in the devotee's mind is just marks, the marks for the Dharmakaya. The Sambhogakaya is nothing but the marks for Dharmakaya. If you take it out, that marks, what do you think? Who will see? When you take it out, that inner lama's marks, the inner idam marks, and you will see yourself. And beauty, and that it's called the rangrik, or the rikpa. You are seeing yourself, but not as a subjective seeing, as objective me. No, it's a kind of, it is a realization. There is no seer, and there's no seeing something object. There's no eye to see the lama. Because even in the inner lama, there was a separateness. Do you see that I and my lama? There's a duality. Even the Sambhogakaya. In Nirmanakaya, there is no, you can't say, oh, I see lama. It's like I, lama, is not separate. And that's a realization of Dharmakaya. And that's it. That's the ultimate devotion. That Nirmanakaya devotion, Sambhogakaya devotion, the inner devotion, in the end, you go back to who you are, your base. And that is the job of the outer lamas, devotion, to bring into inner devotion, in the end, the secret devotion. And that's why the devotion is so important. If you don't trust the outer lama, an outer lama can't help you to bring into inner devotion. Because when you think of outer lama, there's nothing is activating. And outer lama is a helpless. Even he tried to pointing to the nature of mind, she will not get anything. It's just like a zero. Because in order to take out the marks, but the marks should be there. If there is no, do you understand, devotion, the inner lama and outer lama and the secret lama is so difficult to realize. So that's why the devotion is the key in Vajrayana. Without devotion, your lama is helpless. Your lama is helpless. And the story of Telopa and Naropa is not Telopa as a teacher, Naropa as a student. It's not like a Telopa is a very powerful, and it's a Naropa, the devotion. The Telopa can able to help the Naropa. And the same thing with the Marpa and Naropa, the Marpa as a Tibetan translator, and then the Naropa as from India, his teacher. So it's not that Telopa, Naropa was a very powerful, it's a Marpa, his devotion that able to Naropa to help Marpa. And the same with the Milarepa and Marpa. It's not the Marpa was so powerful, it's a Milarepa, his devotion. So for me, I understand here in Vajrayana, a student is playing a more important role than the teacher. The devotion is the key in Vajrayana.